can begin, I think, this second part of the workshop. Over the 2 days we have about what's next in European music. And this special session, as I told you in the in the opening, is dedicated to EU culture and solidarity with Ukraine. And I thank you very much to be here. I welcome you first, and of course the pure existence of this session is because of something that we all are very concerned with at the European level, which is this terrible war that is taking place in the neighboring country of Ukraine. Want to thank on the root table Michalo, which is representing Izolatia, and Izolatia was the old cultural place in Donetsk. Also partners with us and the Goethe Institute in the project Iportunus. Natalia, Alexandra, that are with us on the screen, I think, and representing the cultural foundation of Ukrainian Cultural Foundation. Welcome. And also Alona, that is here, yes, Muchovska, hello, from Music Export Ukraine. Also thank Victor here from Vilnius, I think, Loftas, who is very active with the Ukrainian artists, very close to everything there, and that can also tell us a lot about the initiatives. And of course, dear colleagues, Natalia and Robin, that are the current chair of our wonderful cluster, Unique in Bucarest. Just a few words to tell you that we have tried in many ways to be useful in this terrible situation. Of course, with the artists, but also with other projects. I can tell you, for example, of a project that we are building of a hub for journalists in exile from Ukraine and also dissident from Russia, to be able to, from here, from Bucharest, to have an information that will be independent, free, and of quality. So to help up this hub and to have 15 to 20 journalists that will be here for a while. That we, of course, with you are thinking about everything we can do on the humanitarian side, but at the same time it's very important to think about reconstruction, probably, and to think about also what is useful for people that are passing through Romania. For example, we organized here in this cinema projection for Ukrainian children. So from French cinema for children, and it was interpreted in Ukrainian simultaneously. We want to do concerts, of course. We want to also to have something with a unique colleague. We had a solidarity evening with music and poetry here. But that's very little. And the most important, despite of the war and despite of the condition, is to continue to be able to organize professional meetings, to organize this kind of dialogue, to make as a something we really need to do is, and I was quite also personally touched by that, is that with this war also I discovered much more from Ukraine that I knew before, and I think a lot of people are telling that. I was in the Biennale of Arte in Venice. There was a lot of Ukrainian artists that felt suddenly very interesting, But that's a ubiquitous feeling, yeah? Because of course we're speaking about something actual, so people are very interested. So how to transform it for a long-term relationship within the European neighborhood that we have and that you fully belong to. Of course, that's maybe what we have to discuss on the long term, and not being here just to be appalled by the actuality of this war. So, with you, with Ukraine, we can reinforce cultural diversity. We can be stronger in our European geography, but also feeling of being a European. And for that, I hope that we will have a good exchange and that we will keep contact for further projects together. And I'm very happy again to welcome you here. I will give the floor to the Deputy Director, my colleague Joseph Giustiniani, whom I thank to be able to make this moderation. And I wish you a good session. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks a lot, Julien, and it's a big pleasure and honor to be here today with you, with some colleagues from, let's say, a very European background, and some of you directly from Ukraine. So I would really like to thank you to be here today. And since you are, let's say, speaking from the ground, I would ask you in a couple of words to say something about the situation in the cultural area today, and maybe also what is quite interesting for us is the way some European partners could help and continue helping you. So we have the chance to have two colleagues from the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, so maybe I'm going to give you the floor. I don't know who is going to talk. Natalia or Alexandra, and we have the Music Export Bureau of Ukraine, so I will give you the floor thereafter. In a couple of words, for us being now in Bucarest, so let's say, even if the image is a little bit strong, but from here we cannot hear the music of the war, but we are, let's say, very close and very concerned by what is happening right now. So if you can tell us in a couple of words, what do you think of the situation, and again, how we could imagine being more supportive.
Thank you very much. Greetings for everyone again, and thank you for your support to Ukraine. Can you hear me?
Very good.
Everything is okay?
Yeah, very good.
May I share slides for presentation, also to speak some words about Ukrainian Cultural Foundation and about our work during the war and bombing, running from shelter to shelter. So some words about that. Alexandra. Oh yeah, it's great. Today with you some words about me. My name is Natalia, and Alexandra is also from Ukrainian Cultural Foundation with me, and I will present you a little bit about Ukrainian Cultural Foundation and our initiatives for. Ukrainian Cultural Foundation is a state institution that supports artists and projects that aimed at the development and promotion of Ukrainian culture through a competitive selection. And we operate under the law of Ukraine. Each year, we are a pretty young institution, and each year we received more than 2,000 grants. And for years we have been received more than 10,000 applications and have supported more than 2,000 cultural institutions and their projects. We support different sectors of arts, literature, art, audio arts, performing arts, and others. Today we'd like to talk to you about our future plans, about our grant programs, but due to known circumstances, we would like to talk about pain, about our feelings, about our emotional, and a little bit about our hope. February 24th, 2022, it's a famous date, unfortunately, and it's changed our life. We were preparing before the day for our grant season, but and we have received more than 2,000 applications this year. Maybe you already know such cities like Mariupol, Kharkiv, Chernihiv, Odessa, Kherson. And from that cities we also received more than 200 applications for realizing their cultural projects. But Russian aggression changed our lives, and from the first day of the war, all the Ukrainian people and Ukrainian Cultural Foundation, we fight with enemy. We translate a lot of news about the war with Ukrainian media. We make blood donations, we work with humanitarian aid, and also our colleagues join territorial defense unit. So we really work around the clock with this joint aim to defend, to fight with enemy, and to protect our Ukraine. Then, according to the resolution of the Cabinet of Minister of Ukraine, all our funds that provided for operational activities were transferred to the Ukrainian army to counter aggression of the Russian Federation. It's approximately 20 million euros. But as you know, the Ukrainian people stand for their freedom. Unfortunately, the price is too high for that. Right now, you may see a map that was in the end of March. You may see there are Russian attacks, and right now, next slide is that a map of war made that was prepared a couple days ago, and you may see that Russian invaders have focused on Kharkiv, Donetsk, Luhansk, Zaporizhzhia in the east and the south of Ukraine, and also continue to fire missiles on almost all regions of Ukraine. Russian continue massive strike on Mariupol, and unfortunately for us, for all Ukraine, sometimes we can tell that Mariupol is hell on the earth. It's awful, really. Some words about our hope. During 2 months of the war in Ukraine, last week we had 2 months, and you may see numbers that a lot of buildings, cultural hubs, heritage sites, museums, all art galleries, they are destroyed or partially destroyed or damaged or looted. But the worst loss is the loss of people, of children. More than 200 children died. Also singers, dancers, and artists, they are dying of the Russian bombs and rockets. You may see some of them. They are Ukrainian artists, famous artists, and they died under Russian attacks. What the Ukrainian Cultural Foundation do right now, do during these 2 months of our resistance. Since the beginning of the war, our works, we work in 2 directions. First, it's combating Russian aggression, cultural sanctions also. And another one is assistance to artists and cultural projects who stay in Ukraine. And according to this second direction, we are looking for funds to support cultural artists and cultural projects that aim to promote Ukraine in Ukraine and abroad also. So 3 basic priorities for us. It's scholars to support artists, then support Ukrainian media, and support cultural projects that may be conducted and implemented both in Ukraine and abroad. However, in order to support Ukrainian culture and artists, we have launched this fundraising campaign. So if you have any ideas for that, we are open to discuss everything. Another our project to keep culture on the agenda and at the same time inform about the key news in the cultural sphere. We have launched our information digest, Chronicles of the Cultural Front. Twice a week we tell about events and cultural initiatives that are held in Ukraine and abroad to support Ukraine and Ukrainian culture and artists and others. How really cultural world help Ukraine to defend our country. Another our project is about cultural losses in cultural heritage that was destroyed or partially destroyed as a result of this full-scale Russian military invasion of Ukraine. And we have launched an interactive map that you may see the scale of the damages and the visualization of such war crimes also refutes different statements of the Russian authorities that the army makes surgical strikes on military infrastructure. And according to preliminary estimates, over 200 monuments and cultural sites were damaged and destroyed. And finally, what I'd like to say that we are really open to discuss and join programs to support Ukrainian culture community and restore Ukrainian culture together with our international partners. Therefore, if you have programs, ideas, suggestions, actions to, don't hesitate to us. You can see our contacts there. Also, we like to share verified information sources that present information about Ukraine, real information, and it's not true information. You see our website, our digest, and for our fundraising campaign. Thank you, Ms. Ukraine, and thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. It was quite useful to see the maps, to see in a nutshell what we know, what we hear every day, and also to get these resources in terms of information. Again, we're very thankful to have you here, despite it's online. It's very nice to share with you. And as mentioned by Julien, and I'm sure the colleagues here will definitively support. We're here again to support, and we'll do our best. So thanks, and wishing you really the best we can with the focus of today, let's say workshops and activities is on music. And if you enable me, I'd like to give the floor to our colleague from the Music Export Ukraine to complete maybe a little bit, to give more detailed information, and to see also again the same question: what you are doing, what are your priorities, plans, if any? Because I know it's quite difficult to have some plans, but some information you'd like to share with us.
Yes, hello everyone. I hope you can hear me. So my name is Elena Dmytrovska. I'm from Music Expert Ukraine, and I'm very, very happy to see some familiar faces over here, because now I'm taking from the side of civil society, but before I had some history working for Creative Europe desk in Ukraine, and I'm very happy to see familiar faces and nice colleagues over here. Hopefully everyone is safe. And a small update from my side. I would say that Music Export Ukraine is not really the standard export office as you have in many European countries. We are the NGO, so basically we are very independent and very flexible, and we have to react proactively on the work and support our music community as much as possible. The first priority was to ensure the security of our team, which was not really easy, because you might believe that none of us were ready for the war to start. And even me, the first week I was staying in Kiev in the bomb shelter without any idea what to do next and where to go. That's why this is where the music community helps and helped at the first place. Because like my very first idea was just to go to the Romanian border, because it was the closest one. And then I have started like thinking, so okay, whom I know in Romania, whom I can contact. It took me like 2 minutes to get the answer from the colleague of mine from Mastering the Music Business conference, who said, yes, just when you can, go ahead, we will help you with everything. And this is how human connection and music community helps in the first place. I'm very grateful for the colleagues to help me at that particular moment. And I'm very grateful to the whole European community, which have been super active helping Ukrainian artists, Ukrainian music managers, to overcome the difficulties, to travel, to start working. So I would say that EU and music support was enormous, and it's very much appreciated. It is the common fight of the whole humankind against the pure evil. That's why we have to unite and stay together long term. Talking about music export Ukraine activities at the moment, we have been very active working with the music media all over the world, including Rolling Stone, including IQ Magazine, Guardian, and other big medias, because we really believe that we have to raise awareness about the situation which we are in, and we have to give the voice to the artists and managers we are working with. I will try to share my screen as well, so basically you understand the whole situation and the situation in the music industry in particular. Because at the first place, a lot of our musicians and managers, they have joined Ukrainian army to defend their homeland. Some of them have joined the territory development organizations, just to support the security in their home cities. That is why you might believe that the cultural situation is bad in Ukraine. Nothing is happening. None of the events are happening because it's simply unsecure. And musicians, instead of doing music but this is the thing which they like the most and can do their talent, with a great talent. They are having their guns in order to protect the homeland. On this picture you can see Andrei Kurniuk. This is the frontman of one of the biggest Ukrainian bands called Europavox. And he's like the one taking care of the security in Kiev. We have some musicians playing free concerts in bomb shelters in Kharkiv, just like Svetoslav Okarchuk from Okan Elze. We have many other artists who are fundraising online, offline, just to buy some security and protective stuff for their teams and for themselves in general. So I would say that music community will need this support long term, not only outside of Europe but also inside of Europe. As you might believe, and as you might have heard, that we have this martial law in Ukraine that men are not able to leave country at the moment because of the military duty. That's why a lot of Ukrainian artists are staying at home and they need support now. And this is what we would like to do at the first place, is to fundraise and give a small scholarships to Ukrainian artists who are staying in Ukraine, because they won't have stable jobs in the nearest future for sure. That is why the first vector of our attention is the support program for musicians in Ukraine. Apart from that, we are cooperating with foreign colleagues, and we are trying to assist the booking of Ukrainian artists abroad, because now we have got many requests from the promoters from all over the festivals, clubs. They would like to have the Ukrainian component in their programs, and we are very happy to assist them and help to find that exact talents, those musicians and bands who are in Europe at the moment and can play charity concerts and raise awareness about the whole situation. And the third thing we are taking care of now is the archery platform, and basically you are among the first ones hearing about this project and basically seeing the sneak peek of what we are doing. So basically, archery is the platform created by three partners, music expert Ukraine from Ukraine, Akhmania Festival from Romania, and Popoda Festival from Slovakia. We are very happy to have these great colleagues of ours who are able to support us in creating the platform for job search in music industry in Europe. So basically the idea is pretty simple. We have many Ukrainians in music industry who are left without jobs because nothing is happening in Ukraine at the moment because of the security reasons. On another hand, the live industry in Europe suffered because of the COVID limitations a lot, and many people have left the sphere totally. And now European colleagues say that they have lack of staff everywhere, starting from sound engineer, some technical staff, finishing with catering and event management positions. And they would be very happy to provide these job opportunities for Ukrainians in the first place. And this exactly archery platform aimed to connect and match-make these job opportunities and basically the job seekers. And today we have launched this platform for the very first time. And in the weeks ahead, we will be taking care of contacting international promoters, festivals who have the positions. And we will guide Ukrainian music representatives in order to find those exact jobs they know and do in Ukraine, to have at least the seasonal work for the festival season in Europe, and then come back home when it's safe. So I would say these are the three main things we are doing: fundraising, talking to media, and supporting Ukrainian music representatives in playing concerts and finding jobs, because we are in this together, and we understand that unfortunately, even if the war stops tomorrow, music industry will suffer long term without any opportunities to grow. That's why we have to support the music representatives at the first place and make sure that they're safe, they're active, and they're connected to the European community because of this mutual support and because of all the international opportunities which exist at the moment. That is very brief from my side. If you have any questions, please just go to our Twitter platform or Music Expert Ukraine website. We have contacts over there, so you can contact us anytime, and we will be very happy to assist you with any music-related topic about Ukraine. And I hope everybody is staying safe, and we will be able to host you very soon in peaceful Kiev and have this type of events as well. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Alona. So if I understood correctly, the platform is going to be launched very soon.
Yeah, so basically it's live starting from today, and over the next few weeks you will see many job opportunities and vacancies over there, so please keep an eye on that.
Okay, very good news, and I'm sure I'm turning back to my colleagues as well. I'm sure we will support and definitively use it and come back to you. I will also give them the floor if they want to react, and then we go and please stay online, and we'll come back to you as well. As I said, it's a real European roundtable, since we have the head of the Czech Center and the head of the Polish Institute here today. Just a first reaction from your side about what we have heard, and also ways to support here, of course, in Bucarest, Romania, but also in your countries, because let's say, particularly Poland, you are very active in the refugees crisis, let's say, and maybe not on the first place, but just behind, or let's say on the first place. We are here also in Romania quite, as mentioned by Julien, quite concerned and confronted to the situation. So please, some first reaction.
First thing that came to my mind when I was listening to our colleagues online was that I was thinking about them, where they are, whether they are safe. So that's the first thing. And we think about it also when we refer to the situation of the refugees. So as also they were saying, the first reaction also for the cultural sector, including any music turned institutions in Poland, was to help with the humanitarian aid, without looking at whom, when and how, with all the means that they had. That was the first reaction. I think it was the same for the Czech Republic from the very beginning. And gradually the institutions and also the government, they are looking for a long-term solutions and focused already on the sector, on the artists, on musicians. I'm thinking about some projects concerning classical musicians, orchestras, Freedom Orchestra, for instance, it is being now organized in Poland, within which there will be Ukrainian artists performing in many countries in Europe and also in the United States. There is a youth orchestra also that will be starting very soon in Lusławice. It is music center, let's say, that was built around Penderecki. So there are a lot of initiatives now emerging and taking shape for those who arrive to Poland and to other countries in Europe. So I think it's still in movement, in development.
Yeah, maybe if I can add, and Natalia already mentioned it, I would say that the situation in the Czech Republic is pretty much the same. I think the level of identification and the level of mass mobilization after the war started, I think we never had it in the past decades. It was total identification, and we completely understood also, thanks to our historical experience, that basically you are fighting for us, and we are on the same page. We currently have some 400,000 people from Ukraine in the country of 10 million. So it's a massive number, but also the response is massive. And as also Natalia mentioned, we now understand, and after the first kind of very intense reaction at all levels, it really went from individuals to the state level. Now it's time to switching it into functioning policies at the level of housing, at the level of education, including teaching languages at the level of work. And I think culture, the cultural field, is just one aspect of this aspect of actually giving people who are coming and who might stay for a longer time a meaningful work. So there are a lot of initiatives. It's kind of hard to say where to start, but I can just mention a couple of examples. Czech Center Kiev basically moved to Prague. They work now in exile. And one of the initiatives they have is they offered 30 stipends for the artist from Ukraine, 3 months. But the point is actually to help them settle down, and during those few months actually connect them to the partner institutions in the Czech Republic. And it can be music, it can be theater, there are poets. So it really goes across culture. And the second big program they have actually for language courses online, because there is a big need for that. And maybe just one immediate reaction to what Alona was talking about, just as a proof that maybe as we kind of are kind of solidar and interconnected, what you were talking about, this music export Ukraine program. I just, when I was researching for this discussion, I just found that actually there's also on the Czech side, there is Music Managers Forum, Czech Republic, and they also have a list of current Ukrainian bands who would be available for the concerts, be it in the Czech Republic or elsewhere in Europe. So I somehow suspect that you know about each other, but if not, I think as a follow-up of this discussion, we can exchange the links, contacts, whatever would be needed.
Yeah, so basically we have compiled the list of Ukrainian artists in Europe for them, because Czech Music Managers Forum, they're not always spreading the word and helping with the information, but they are actually talking to Czech festivals and make sure that they book Ukrainian artists. And this is where, again, the music community help, because they're the people living in those countries. They know like the stakeholders, they know the situation, and they know how to speed up the situation in general. So we are very much aware of this type of support and thankful, because again, this is the initiative from their side in order to show the support and solidarity.
Thanks. I was just thinking about that. We should have a representative of Romania, but maybe there is in the room. because you were talking about the historical link and the past and what it is for you to be, let's say, a neighboring country of Ukraine. I would like also to ensure you that in France we're not a neighboring country, but we share European history. And I can tell you that the artistic scene and even the French people are quite moved about the fact that there is a war in Europe as well. For us, it's something which was unexpected and that we never experienced in our life, basically. And now I'm turning to another colleague who, there are two colleagues right now, but one who is coming from Ukraine also, and it's very nice to have you here, and I'm quite impressed that you came to us to, let's say something about what you are doing, and you were also directly confronted with the war. At a point where we are not talking a lot about Ukraine, at least in my country. If you can also say some introductory statement about the situation, what you are doing today, and also the same question about what we could do, let's say, to be more active or more supportive.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for the invitation. I'm also really happy to see colleagues and they're safe. I came here from the Western Ukraine to talk at this event and to prepare another one in Prague. And I'm extremely happy to see all the level of support coming from citizens of European Union, from average people who are doing a lot of help in many ways, and even in the ways that we couldn't predict, foresee, or expect. It's amazing to see this level of support. I'm talking today as a representative of Ukrainian institution, Izolyatsiya, a platform for cultural initiatives, and as a board member of Transfer Abkhazia network, which is a big European network, one of the oldest network. Next year it will be 40 years old, that unites more than 100 cultural organizations from all around Europe, and that also actively helps Ukrainian cultural sector right now. Unfortunately, our organization has a long history with the war. In 2014, our venue in Donetsk was seized by Russian military, and it was turned into prison, so-called illegal prison. And illegal prison is a term that means that this prison is not recognized by any authorities, including Russia. So it means that if someone is taken to this prison, you will never know about this. No one will tell you. There is no way to get any support, any help for those who are inside. Ever. No international mission, no Red Cross, no Amnesty. No one was allowed to get there. And you only know about what's going on in our former cultural center through accounts of those who were released, exchanged, or managed to escape. And this is horrible. Actually, 2 days ago, Arte released a film shot by Ukrainian students who are studying in Germany about the prison. And it's available there in Ukrainian with German subtitles, with more languages coming soon. It's really interesting, and it's basically a set of interviews with people who were detained there, and they're talking about their experience. And the main plot is turning around Stanislav Asiev, who is a prominent Ukrainian journalist who spent 2 years in this prison and was exchanged in 2019, and he wrote a book about this, his experience there. So unfortunately, we have a lot of experience with atrocities that are being made by Russian forces in east of Ukraine, even before this active full-scale invasion started 3 months ago. Now our venue in Kiev is also not working, obviously. And most of the team is located in the West, but also in Kiev and in different places in Ukraine. So what we are trying to do, and I think that a lot of organizations, like all of the organizations, cultural organizations in Ukraine are doing, is obviously organizing some kind of support to cultural centers, but also to every citizens of our country. Specifically, we were allowed to use money of our donors, including European Commission, mission of European Union to Ukraine, to organize humanitarian aid to communities that we've been working with. Ukraine had really successful reform of decentralization recently. And there is a lot of great initiatives in smaller cities all around the country. So it's not only in capital or in big cities. And this is something that we were trying to develop throughout last maybe 2 years, supporting those communities, especially in the east of the country. So, and now, unfortunately, we have to support this communities not with music, not with education, not with arts, but with washing machines, with beds, with medicine, food, and yeah, it's horrible. But at the same time, we are trying to develop programs to support artists, to support cultural sector. It's not official yet, but soon we will be launching a sub-granting scheme to support small organizations in Ukraine to get some funds for their work, and we are working with smaller communities in the west of Ukraine that also, like your countries, received a lot of new people, new internally displaced people who don't have much resources to deal with them, and we are trying to support these communities with funds and also to help them to stay alive and active. And this, of course, all the things that colleagues said about information, about talking at all kinds of events, conferences, media, is really important right now, because we know from experience from 2014 that at some point that focus is shifting, interest is leaving, and this creates a space for manipulations. Then this creates a space for propaganda, and this is really dangerous, and this is something that we want to avoid and to let Ukrainian voices be heard in Europe still. And in frames of Trans-Europe Halles, it's a big cultural network. There's a lot of members. Throughout the last three months, we were developing different programs to support cultural centers, and what's really important, not only in Ukraine but also in neighboring countries, because our colleagues from Czech Republic, from Slovakia, from Romania, from Moldova, from Poland, they are accepting a lot of refugees, a lot of people who had to move, including cultural professionals and artistic professionals. And a lot of those people are doing this from their own budget, from their own pocket money. They don't have much support. Well, probably now there is, but at the beginning they were using only their own money. So we, inside Trans-Europe Halles, we organized Solidarity Fund, which was gathered by all the members of the network, which allowed to fund some of the centers in neighboring countries, and some of the Ukrainian centers who are also a part of the network. We created a set of public activities to tell about what's going on in Ukraine, and also to fundraise money for Ukrainian volunteers, for those who help children, help doctors, help army, and it was a big movement. I think around 30 events all around Europe, with different cultural activities and with fundraising, thanks to our partners in Europe. And now, of course, we are looking at longer-term opportunities. Of course, at this moment, it's really hard to even imagine long-term opportunities. Next week seems like a distant future right now. But still, we know that there are three things that everyone is talking about. One of them is obviously support for those artists who are staying in Ukraine, who cannot leave or don't want to leave or have. It's obvious, of course, and we've been doing this with cultural centers, providing them with the forms of virtual residencies or just any kind of form of support. And another thing, of course, is again protecting European informational sphere from Russian narratives. Well, as a cultural organizations, words that I'm using for the last 3 months are really hard to pronounce and really different from what we've been doing for last years. I'm talking about war, weapons, helping army, and it's really important now. But before we were building dialogues, we were doing completely different things. So, of course, we, in Trans-Europavax, we plan to launch a series of big, large-scale events all around Europe and different countries in our member organizations with representatives of Ukrainian intellectuals to talk about situation in Ukraine, to talk about reasons for this invasion, to talk about decolonization of Russian narratives about Ukraine and so on. And the third movement, of course, is support of those organizations that are working on the border. And at the same time supporting artists, as you all said, that it's important not just to give people a place to stay, but also a place to work so they can apply their skills, so they can be useful in their communities. And there is a separate program that will allow to build a network to help people to embed into work of centers in Europe.
Quite impressive indeed what you are doing. Narrative, communication, information. If I try to recap, which is, as you say, it's quite important for us. Let's say in the western part of Europe, to hear about, also to better understand, and as you said, to keep the focus on Ukraine for as long as the war and the invasion will last. I have a last speaker, last but not least, coming from Lithuania, which is also a neighboring country. And I would like to ask you, and you are also a partner of Europavox, which is the co-organizer of today's event. What would you like to say about the way this situation has changed you? What you are doing and the kind of support you are providing?
Yes, I represent a music venue, culture center called Loftas in Vilnius, which has been going for 12 years. And I can speak now a little bit about the reactions that were in Lithuania. In Lithuania is generally been very supportive since before with Georgia and since the Orange revolutions and after the 2014 with the events in Crimea. So Lithuania has always been very, very supportive of Ukraine, and with our politicians have often been called very anti-Russian because we've been asking for sanctions since 2014, and we always said that we're Russian phobe, and we were just like So I would like to say that in Lithuania, actually, I haven't seen Lithuania so united since, because our religion is basketball. So when we win basketball, then all of Lithuania is united. So I haven't seen Lithuania so united since the 24th of February. And this is and it's the support is not coming down. There have been really many. There's basically charity events. I wouldn't say every day, but I mean almost all bands since February, when they do concerts now, all the tickets go to support Ukraine. There are mostly the support goes to Lithuanian NGOs which support the army mostly, like not civilians, but the army, because the Lithuanians are much more, let's say, there's a NGO called Blue Yellow and 1K, it's two of them. The Blue Yellow is not even, I think, in the top 10 of no donors to the Ukraine, and it's just one guy from Lithuania who actually started this NGO since 2014. So they've been going a long time and helping with bringing cars and I don't know all the words in English, but basically all this stuff, helmets and stuff like that. Yeah, for the army. Uniforms. So they've been doing that since 2014, but now since February they've been really in the forefront. And yeah, so talking generally, I can say just a few things that for example, happened in Lithuania is because, for example, the platform Patreon wouldn't let money used there to be given to the army. So basically, all Lithuanian creators left Patreon, and they're now on platforms, on Lithuanian platforms that do the same, or other platforms that let people, the money that is gathered, go not only for refugees, but also to support the army. And also there's a very big, very big push to basically totally cancel Russian culture, which is, I mean, it's very, but I don't think that you will find an event in Lithuania where there's a Russian artist or who have been booked now, but they've all been like, except if it's artists that were well known for, who are dissidents and who have been known to do this since a long time. The Lithuanian Council for Culture has also set up a fund now where basically anybody from the arts from Ukraine who have fled or who are refugees in Lithuania, they can get basically 600 euros for 3 months, 1,800 euros, as just to start some project and just to get by. But this is also not like a limited thing, so people can apply anytime. It's not like just, there's no deadline for that, so anytime they arrive to Lithuania, they can apply for that. And well, we as the venue, we straight away, the war started on the 24th. On the Monday, straight after that, we had a big charity event with basically all the biggest Lithuanian artists performed. And yeah, so since February until now, in our venue, we've had probably about 10 charity events, and we've gathered about 220,000 euros in that time, which all went to those organizations that I mentioned. And yeah, so Lithuania is very active, and I actually also, from what was said, we have a sound guy now working in our place who is living in Lithuania because he used to work with some big bands. They're not touring anymore, so like he's not working full time, but because we have another sound guy. But basically, they're not sharing duties, and yeah, and as it was mentioned, also there's a very big lack of staff actually in bars after Corona in Lithuania. I think almost everywhere in Europe, not just. So yeah, so there's also a big push to basically to hire Ukrainian people who are in Lithuania, because I mean, of course, Lithuania is not so big like Poland or Czech Republic, so there's not as many refugees, but still, like the yeah. And generally now we're trying to have Ukrainian artists. We have the Europavox festival now in 3 weeks, so we will have a group Go A from Ukraine playing there. We're in talk with Alona, with Daka Braka. Basically, we will try to get as many Ukrainian artists who can come, because those who cannot leave, because yeah, of many reasons that were already mentioned here. So. Yeah, so I'm really happy that Lithuania is very active, and I just hope that we can get back to normal very soon, and which was said very well is that we don't start to forget, because I mean, talking about our venue, for example, I even remember that a while ago, this is way before the war, we in Lithuania we don't let artists who have said, for example, this Max Cavalera, the singer from Sepultura, a band who I really grew up listening to and stuff, but we didn't let them play in our venue because he was very officially saying yes to Crimea is Russian. So in Lithuania, basically, if an artist is known to have played there or to say things like that, even the ministry, of foreign affairs, of internal affairs. Sorry, but even like when he was supposed to come, even we got a call from them. Although we canceled the show ourselves, but we even got a call from the ministry saying, "Do you know that this guy is pro Kremlin and stuff like that?" So, yeah. So that's in short. Don't want to get too much into.
Thanks. It's working. Yes. So I think we already have had, let's say, some exchange. I'd like to take the opportunity, if there is someone in the room who would like to talk. There are not so many, but if ever, please, you are also quite welcome to do that. If not, I'd like to come back to you as well. Let's say it's quite difficult to resume or to sum up what we have heard today, but I can resume with the word solidarity, support, cooperation, exchange, which are what we do want to do. It's quite important to see that you have also set in place this lots of initiatives in Ukraine for artists staying in Ukraine and also abroad in Europe. This is quite positive for us to hear, and I'm sure we will report on that to Paris as well. Saying also that here in the French Institute in Romania, I'm looking. Let's say, I think we can all support this idea that we should do more with the Ukrainian artists. There is someone. Yes, I give you the floor, please.
Yeah, no, it's not. Yeah, hi, I'm François Missonnier from Europavox, and I'm really moved to see your face, Elena, on the screen. Yes, sorry, not having been able to move to Cologne last week for this, I think, incredible moment with Fosho playing there. And no, it's just it's a lot of emotion to hear you and see you talking about the situation. And the only thing I wanted to share with you is that in France we think about you every day, and we are very looking forward all the initiative you are launching, and trust us to do our best, even if it's little, to send testimonies and to all, of course, the Ukrainian citizens and musicians every time we will be able to do so. So take care, dear friends.
Thank you very much. If I can just add the context, what we are talking about. So basically, there is this very great Ukrainian band called For Sure. This is the Ethiopian-Ukrainian trio of sisters from Kharkiv. And last week, Europavox managed to bring them to join in Germany to play at the Europavox Festival, which is a pretty well-respected business event in music industry in Germany and in Europe, I would say. And because of this very small concert, which they had for half an hour, they have been seen by many international bookers, and I know from their manager that they are getting a lot of requests to play this summer. And also Forbes included them in the list of 30 emerging artists worth knowing and listening to. So you see how a very small incentive and a very small event can make a big impact. That's why I really encourage all the partners to be proactive, because all of us together can really change the history, and everything starts with culture at the first place. So thank you for your support again.
Thanks. Julien?
Thank you very much, Alona, and also here on behalf of the French Embassy and the French Institute, with my colleagues here, we will also be in contact with you to see what's the best solution to bring also, and here in Bucarest or in other cities in Romania during the next month, some bands from Ukraine within some framework, artistic framework here, and we will do that and do the connections that may allow them to have other opportunities. I will also have a question maybe to you, Natalia. As you mentioned this very quite new interactive map with a list of the destroyed heritage. Either, I mean, an idea or a way to help, for example, of course not the big monuments, but to help the museum items of some cities to come to some shelter. Even I know that is something that we have an initiative, a French initiative, which is called ALIF, and that is with a lot of partners looking all over the world to protect endangered heritage in war conflicts. It was more set up for Syria, Iraq, etc., Afghanistan. But of course, now it's fully turned and focused also in Ukraine. And there is probably a need assessment that is done. But I would like maybe to hear from you if there is such projects and such need or organization that are doing this. And maybe also with some musical instruments, that music instruments from musicians are very precious things that they need to put outside of Ukraine for a while, to shelters that we can organize, that can be registered and be safe and be returned when it's safer. So this kind of initiative, especially maybe for more individuals, musicians that have, you know, their electronics, their instruments. I know that a violin, a piano, a cello, it's very precious, and you can fear for it also, even if it's complicated to be separated from it. But at least some of them, they would be worth to be put in safe places.
Thank you so much. Again, great initiative, and about musician, and also about our non-cultural losses. Maybe I drop my email and share this your offers and your proposals in detail, and we may discuss it later, as well as talking about that. And also about how that actually the tangible heritage is something that Minister of Culture now made that initiative. And as for instruments, we as organization, we don't have a separate program, but as I already told that we might talk about that. Right now, we do a fundraising initiative of all types of projects, as well as audio sector for musicians also.
If I may,
Natalia,
about the heritage, because it's something that Polish museums are doing for a while now. There are a lot of transports organized from Poland with experts and materials to protect works of art, because it's up to Ukrainian ministry, of course, to decide whether they would like to send them abroad. So if they decide, of course, there's no problem. Poland is open to that. But I know that there were a lot of initiatives also in the other direction, to get what we have like materials that can protect works of art, and they were brought together with experts to Ukraine to help to embellish them and hide them in safe places. And it was quite massive because unfortunately, you know that Russians, they just don't give anything, any kind of interest in what they do. They just destroy everything. And you have this example of the museum with Maria Primachenko's works that was destroyed like 3 days after the war started. You can see some of her works now in Bucarest at the museum of the city of Bucarest. It's a simple exhibition, of course, but it reminds everyone that it's happening. It's happening every day that bombs are falling on important places, to the heritage, to the memory, to the culture. So, unfortunately. But I thought also a little bit about our cluster, because finally we started with what was happening in our respective countries. Tomorrow we open, and it's not music this time, but Robin will maybe talk a little bit about the music project also that we have. But tomorrow we open a European Film Festival here in Bucharest, and some of the members of the Romanian cluster of UNIC are now adoptive parents for some Ukrainian movies. So there will be Ukrainian movies in the program, and we start also with a Ukrainian movie. Okay, and there are also other projects when Ukrainian artists are involved. For instance, the music one that Robin will talk about now.
I mean, I wanted to say, sorry, I think there is reaction from Natalia, no?
Sorry about that. I'd like to add some words about that initiatives that you already mentioned. As far as I know, that Ministry or Ministry of Culture gathered information from organizations, material losses, instruments, equipment, etc. And actually, as you said, we don't have that list, but I think they are in process of gathering the information, and they work with institutions from Lviv and abroad to do that.
Yeah. I just wanted to add to what Natalia was mentioning, that basically us as EUNIC Romania, we, after the war started, we basically, continuously, I mean, one of the main goals we have is kind of add to whatever we do Ukrainian content, Ukrainian aspect whenever it makes sense. There were also some charity events, one of them organized by the French Institute, but others as well. We are talking about the philanthropy event in the fall. So I just wanted to say that, just thanks to the discussion we have today, we will definitely pass the context also to our colleagues. I'm also thinking about my colleagues from Czech Center Kiev, who are now basically split between Prague, Lviv, and Kiev. Some of them already got back to the capital of Ukraine. So I will probably also pass your context to them, because what you were talking about, they are doing the same. They became from culture institution, they became sort of humanitarian kind of entity which tries to help wherever it makes sense. So yeah, let's take this also as an opportunity to network, even as a follow-up. The Jazz UNIC was one example of like how we are trying to adjust the program at the end of June. We have actually a festival of we call it young European stars in the field of jazz. We do it with our partners here in Green Hours, and it's I'm not sure now if it's 3 or 4 days festival. Most of us are bringing the jazz bands, and Ukrainian band should be part of that as well. So that's one concrete activity among other programs we have.
Thank you. We are on time to conclude this session. There is a last question, but I don't see the question. Okay, please, yes, take the floor. Yeah.
Thank you. It's not a question, sorry about that. It's more related to the former comment on relocation related to cultural heritage sites and collection. So my name is Marie Le Sourd and I work for On the Move, so I'm very also glad and feel very honored to see again Natalia, Alona, Michaelo, of course. We talk a lot about networks, and I think also on the cultural heritage front there is also the network NEMO, which is the European Network for Museum Organization, and they have also dedicated information about museum and cultural heritage organization in Europe that can help for the relocation of some, artwork. So I just wanted also to mention that in the resource as well, because the more we share, the more we can also make people aware of these opportunities that exist. Thank you very much.
Indeed, thanks a lot. So we have, I have to thank Alona, Mihailo, Natalia for your initiatives, for being here today with us. And be sure that we will inform broadly about what you are doing and support you. To come to an end, also to say that there is, of course, a big agreement, consensus among unique members to continue working with Ukrainian artists in general and to focus on Ukrainian culture. And I think we need to hear more, to be more acquainted with the Ukrainian culture right now, but also in order to build the future, because we have to be optimistic and to try to see what is going to be the day after tomorrow. And again, thanks a lot for your time. I really wish you all the best I can. Let's keep in touch also by we have the facility. I mean, it's quite easy to keep in touch, hopefully. And I'd like to invite the ones who are here today with us in Bucarest to continue following the day and the evening today, and hopefully the ones who are now in Ukraine. We will see you here, maybe in Ukraine, hopefully also. Have a very good day, and thanks a lot for your participation. So this event has been filmed, and I'm sure we will be able to have it screened and put somewhere for in the near future. So have a very good day again. Thanks a lot.